Hi there YouTube, welcome to part 7 of the boat restoration. I've just put the 3 braces in across the keel where it sinks down. I think, well, there's no think about it really. These were put in after the boat was made by one of the owners. I think probably because they were using it at sea and it sort of must have been flexing a bit, so they put these across. They were all rotted out, so I pulled them, cut them out, and I let in 3 new ones there, bits of hardwood cut to size and set in with the thickened epoxy and then wrapped in the matting. And I've done one already and the other 2 I've just done, and they're wrapped up in pieces of polythene to help keep them squashed up together whilst they go off. Once they're gone off, they come out. They're all nice and tightly in, absolutely part of the boat now. And I won't pull the other 2 out, but the thickened epoxy was already set when I wrapped them, and they are just the same. You could pick the boat up with one of those. Right then, it's time to think about doing the rails. First thing I want to do is to plane the underside of them smooth from the saw cuts from the table saw, and then maybe put a little bit of a what do you call it, a bevel on it, so that it looks slightly thinner from the side, but not much of one. I'm going to leave the tops as they are, because once they're in place I can sand them down then and put a finish on them that way. Before I put them up here to keep them out of the way, I did look at them and see the way they were naturally bending, and labelled them all to let me know what side of the boat, inside or outside, that I was going to use them on. And here we got the inside of the port outwell, and the others are all marked up with their respective place. So that one is going to go on this side, on the outside, because of the way that it wants to curve anyway. So I'll take that one out first because it's labelled, and then I shall put it on the bench and plane up the other side. I'm only taking off very fine shavings because I only want to get rid of the saw marks. I was saying about putting a bevel on earlier on, but another option would be to make a scratch stock up, which I saw someone do. They put a countersunk screw in to just poking out, and run that along the edge and the side, and it produced like a bead, a groove on into the corner on each side, and it produced a rounded bead once they'd sanded it, and that looked really nice and professional. So I might actually do that instead, but obviously that won't be done until the rail has been fitted to the side. So I think I'm going to go with that maybe. So I'll carry on doing this now on all 4 of the rails, and then get back to you. So now I've done the planed the marks out of the undersides of the rails, the next job is to steam them and then bend them into place on the shear, the top of the hull. And normally this would be done by putting the rails into a steam box or a pipe, which you heat up water in or pass steam into for about an hour per inch for each piece. and then run like mad from where the steam box is into the workshop where the boat is, and then clamp them on and working quickly put them around the hull. Now there's a guy called Lou Sorzetti who I got into recently, well a few, actually probably around Christmas time, who is, his channel name is Tips from a Shipwright, and it's also something to do with Total Boat channel as well, which make products like epoxies and such like for boat building. And he is an amazing craftsman, and he came up with an idea where he makes a tube out of a sheet of polythene, seals it all up with tape, and then pumps the steam in to that, and he actually clamps it onto the side of the boat, and then as it bends, as the wood relaxes, he bends it round and clamps it into place, and then he takes the steam off and lets it cool naturally, and it holds its shape. With this being a fiberglass boat, I'm not sure that it's a good idea to actually put that much heat onto it, because it's alright, it's going to be 90, 100 degrees, something like that, but I have a feeling it may compromise the rigidity of the hull whilst it's being steamed. So my intention is to hang the rail from the ceiling off the beams, and then when it gets to the point where it's flexible enough, I can clamp it into place and take the steam off, and it's always getting cooler then rather than heating up the fiberglass. And there's another guy called Mike Yerth who restored an aluminium boat, and he used the same method, but he used food bag. This is the stuff that you put the food into and vacuum seal it, and then cut it off with the sealer thing. Comes in a great long roll. I think it's 6 meters, so plenty for what I need, and it's good tough stuff. So I'm going to try that, and I've got a wallpaper stripper, and well, that's it really. I saw Marcus, and I still can't remember his name, who's a Cornish shipwright, and he made a proper clinker built boat using one of these and a small steam box, which he only needed to steam the ends of the planks where they went onto the cutwater. So with this combination, I'm hoping it will generate enough steam to be able to make the wood relax and bend. It softens the fibres, what do they call it, the cellulose in the wood, and it just sort of relaxes, and it just goes where you want it to go. It's a peculiar feeling. I've done it many times with side guitars, but they're only sort of like 1.8 to 2.5 mil thick, and it's an amazing thing to do, because you wouldn't believe that you could get something to do, to put a piece of wood to do what it does. But it's a well tried and tested method of bending wood. Goodness knows how many chairs I've bent wood pieces in that have been steamed or boiled in a pipe or in a steam box. So the technology is well tested. What isn't tested is my my ability to do it here with this the equipment I've got. If this isn't enough, then I've got a T-urn, and I can rig up something to get more steam into the bag. I'll only know by trying it. So this is try number 1. If it doesn't work, we'll make more steam. We'll get another piece of kit in and we'll make some more steam. So I'll get started. I think I'll knock some nails into the rafters and hang some bits of string down and see how we go from there. Right, I've got some clamps ready. I've hung up the rail in the food bag tube, and we got steam. Actually, it looks like a lot of water in there, but that's no problem really, I don't think. Steam coming into the bag now, and it's puffing up and getting hot. It's getting quite hot. It's been on for it's been up to steam for maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. And the heat's all the way up to this end of the bag. Yep, it's definitely hot, very hot to the touch. Reminds me, where are we? Pair of gloves. So I'll put them on the workbench as well. Sorry about whizzing around there, but I'm all excited, I'm all aflutter, and it's not because I've had another coffee. So I'm going to give this a while, see what happens to the wood. Hopefully these flimsy bits of string and clamps are going to hold it in place. It's not getting too hot near there, so we're on the way. Bring you back in a bit. We're about 3/4 of an hour into the steaming, and unfortunately the little plastic pincher clips that I had weren't mad enough for the job. But I found 4 of these metal ones which I had knocking around in the old Dream factory somewhere. So luckily they're a lot stronger clasp. I was a bit loath to use them at first because they're made of metal and they may pinch through the bag, but needs must, so we'll keep on going with these for the moment. Well, it's about 2 hours now since I turned on the steamer, and I had to top it up once halfway through, and looks like we got success. It bent round really quite nicely. I'm not sure whether it really would have taken 2 hours, or I just erred on the side of caution to bend the side, but it did actually bend really nice and easy, and hopefully it's not going to bugger up, although this is pretty hot now. That's cool down. Hopefully it's not going to bugger up the shear on the boat. I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other clamps and double wedged them because of the I'm only using the one, bending the one rail at the moment. I've just used enough, all the wedges really. I've just used all the wedges on this one rail. Next job will be to do the other side. This is actually the in whale, but it won't make any difference about it being bent round the outside. It's easier to bend it round the outside than it is the inside because it's over length, and it'll be trimmed off to size to go inside. So I'll do the same with the next rail tomorrow. Of course, it's warm in here now. I'm not sure if the bag isn't just a touch too big, and maybe I could in future roll it up a bit to make it sort of like slightly smaller, but that's work, so maybe spending a couple of hours is no bad thing. So I'm quite happy now with that. I'm going to open the door actually. I've opened the door and can let it cool down now. I'm pleased with the way it's gone. It's all going into the unknown again. I know it works, and I've seen, well, you go down to Portsmouth and see the Victory, and that's made of huge great timbers, all oak, that were bent in exactly the same way, well, in a steam box. Great bulks of timber, 2 inches thick and more. Bingo. Well, I came up this morning and took the polythene off of the rail, and it's drying out a bit now, but it was quite wet earlier on, and also, as I understand it, when you bend wood in this method, you need to, especially if you're using a former of some sort, you need to make the radiuses a bit tighter than you need them, because the wood springs back a bit, and this is sprung back, but it's not a great deal. Certainly it goes back into place easy enough without any cramming, and I'm pleased with the way it turned out. So I'm going to leave it like this for a day or so to dry out whilst I do the other side, the port side, and then I shall fit them, because they need to be cut to size to go on the inside of the shear, and then look at doing the 2 outwales. I'm going to get on with that now. I've made up some more wedges, because obviously I need 2 folding wedges for each of the brackets, because I've only got the 1 piece of wood. I was hoping to use the offcuts from this plywood, but it's too thick, so the wedges don't go in it. So I've made up another dozen wedges, and I'm going to get on now, move the boat around and get ready to steam the second rail. Unfortunately, yesterday I did forget to switch the camera on when I pushed the wood into shape and clamped it along the side. So this time I won't be making that mistake again. I was caught up in the moment. I knew it was going to bend, so I just did it, and I forgot all about putting the camera on. So I hope you weren't disappointed when you saw it was a done deal, but I'm going to show you this time, I promise. Got to keep carrying on. It's fallen off the log. That didn't happen. happened yesterday. Whew. Saucy there. Well, that was a bit more fraught than yesterday, and that's one of the things about doing things in front of the camera, innit? But believe me, yesterday went far more swimmingly, but it's possibly because I gave it 2 hours instead of an hour and a half. And that last little bit up the top here, I'll take you up and show you now. Got the clamps on it and it's butted up tight. It was cooling down a bit by the time I got up there, I think, because of the problems I had. What with it falling off the log and everything. It's balanced on the log down there. I'm pushing it sideways like that. It just sort of, obviously, I remember now actually, I had the back end jacked up on a hop up and some timber yesterday, so it was far more stable than it was today. Should have remembered that. Rookie mistake. Oh, I'm a rookie. But I think that's got it. Certainly those two clamps are holding it in tight on the shear, so it may spring a little bit more than the other one, but I can always make up a little steam bag and just steam this end, let it, because it will spring out, so I can always do that and then put it back in again. It's one of the things as well is that you can do something, and if you're not happy with it, you can go back over and do it again. But I think for now that wraps up this film. Dusty, I hope you're pleasantly surprised by this. Your ideas were what I was contemplating doing in the first place, a steam box or a pipe. But during my research I found out about this way, and it was a good alternative. So thanks for your suggestions. Keep them coming, because I'm always open to suggestions and advice, or if someone has an idea that I like, I'll adopt it, adapt it. It's been an experience doing these two, so when I next get back to you, hopefully there'll be some outwhales as well. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks as always for your subscribing and your comments and encouragement. They're all fantastic, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.